we are familiar with few of the words that we use in this session. So what is antibiotics? The Greek word anti means against and biotics means concerning life, and it refers to substances produced by microorganisms which selectively separate the growth of or kill other microorganisms at very low concentration. So what are chemotherapeutic agents? The use of drugs with selective toxicity against infections or viruses, bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and helminthes. And coming to the term antimicrobials. It refers to all the agents of natural, synthetic or semi-synthetic origin which at low concentrations kill or inhibit the growth of microorganisms but causes little or no host damage. Antimicrobials include both chemotherapeutic agent plus antibiotics. An antibiotic is a product produced by a microorganism or a similar substance produced wholly or partially by chemical synthesis, which in low concentration inhibit the growth of other microorganisms. An antibiotic is a selective poison and it has been chosen so that it will kill the desired bacteria but not the cells in your body. Each different type of antibiotic affects different bacteria in different ways. Let's check into the history of antibiotic. The use of substances with antimicrobial properties is known to have been common practice for at least 2000 years. Ancient Egyptians and ancient Greeks used specific molds and plant extract to treat infection. Also for centuries, preparations derived from living matter were applied to wounds to destroy infection. The fact that a microorganism was capable of destroying one of another species was not established until the later half of the 19th century when Pasteur noted the antagonistic effect of other bacteria on the anthrax organism and pointed out that this action might be put to therapeutic use. Microbiologists such as Louis Pasteur and Jules Francois-Joubert observed antagonism between some bacteria and discussed the merit of controlling these interactions in medicine. Before the early period, some of the natural substances were used to treat several infections. For example, Kalmubra oil was used to treat leprosy, and the cinchona bark for fever, and the moldy curd was used by Chinese for treating the boils. The Chinese also used artemisia for malaria treatment, and mercury was used to treat syphilis. The Jordan people used red soil to treat skin infections. During 1890 to 1935, Ehrlich tried methylene blue, trypan red, etc. and he developed the arsenicals atoxyl for sleeping sickness, arsphenamine in 1906 and neo-arsphenamine in 1909 for syphilis, and he was the one who coined the term chemotherapy. In the modern era of chemotherapy, Damac in 1935 demonstrated the chemotherapeutic effect of protosyl sulfonamide dye in pyogenic infections. In 1928, Sir Alexander Fleming, a Scottish biologist, observed that Penicillium notatum, a common mold, had destroyed Staphylococcus bacteria in culture. Fleming was unable to purify the compound, and the penicillin was isolated in 1939 by Oxford chemist Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, and in 1940, first clinical trials of penicillin were performed. Whereas the mass production of penicillin started from 1945 and it was used during the World War II. Selman Waxman found that soil streptomyces make antibiotics and he came up with the definition of antibiotic. In 1944, Selman Waxman and Albert Schatz, American microbiologist, isolated streptomycin and a number of other antibiotics from Streptomyces graecis. In 1947, chloramphenicol was first used clinically to treat typhus. Burotsu discovered cephalosporins and Benjamin and Degar isolate chlorotetracycle from a mud sample obtained from a river in Missouri. From 1960 onward, second-generation antibiotics like methicillin were discovered. Following this, semi-synthetic derivatives of older antibiotics with more desirable properties and different spectrum of activity were produced, for example, fluoroquinolones and oxazolidinones. And when you look at the history of antibiotics, you can see that between 1962 and 2000, no major classes of antibiotics were introduced. And when you look at the timeline of antibiotic resistance, you can see that the penicillin was found in 1943 and its resistance developed in 1947 with penicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and the methicillin in 1959 and the resistance developed in 1961 with MRSA, that methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. And then comes the vancomycin in 1958, and vancomycin resistant infections developed in 1987 with vancomycin resistant enterococci, and in 2002 vancomycin resistant Staphylococcus aureus emerged. There are different ways in which the antibiotics are classified, like based on the chemical nature, mechanism of action, type of organism against which they are active, spectrum of activity, and the type of action, and also finally based on the source of antibiotics. We can see a few examples of antibiotics which is classified based on their chemical structures. Sulfonamides and related drugs consist of sulfadiazine, dapsone, para-aminosalicylate acid, that is PAS. Diaminopyrimidines consist of trimethoprim, pyrimethamine. Quinolones consist of nalidixic acid, norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin. Beta-lactam ring antibiotics consist of penicillins, cephalosporins, monobactams. Tetracyclines consist of oxytetracycline and doxycycline. Nitrobenzene derivative, chloramphenicol. Aminoglycosides, streptomycin, gentamicin, neomycin. Macrolide antibiotics, erythromycin, clarithromycin, azithromycin. And there are few more examples like the lincosamide antibiotics like incomycin, clindamycin, polypeptide antibiotics, polymyxin B, bacitracin, glycopeptides like vancomycin, nitrofuran derivatives like nitrofurantoin, nicotinic acid derivatives, examples are isoniazid, pyrazinamide, polyene antibiotics like nystatin and amphotericin B. Azole derivatives include miconazole, clotrimazole, ketoconazole, fluconazole, and there are others like rifampicin, viomycin, ethambutol, thiacetazone, griseofulvin. And few examples based on the mechanism of action. For example, that inhibit cell wall synthesis include penicillin, cephalosporins, vancomycin, bacitracin. That cause leakage from cell membranes include polypeptides like polymyxins, bacitracin, polyenes like amphotericin B and nystatin. And which inhibit protein synthesis include tetracyclines, chloramphenicol, erythromycin, clindamycin. And that cause misreading of mRNA code and affect permeability. They are the aminoglycosides like streptomycin and gentamicin. And the ones which inhibit DNA gyrase are fluoroquinolones like ciprofloxacin. That interfere with DNA functions are rifampicin and metronidazole. And that interfere with DNA synthesis is acyclovir, siruvidin. And which interfere with intermediary metabolisms or that is involved in metabolic antagonisms are sulfonamides, sulfones, trimethoprim, pyrimethamine, ethambutol. For antibacterial treatment, drugs like penicillins, aminoglycosides, erythromycin are used, and for antifungal, griseofulvin and cefoterizine B, ketoconazole. Antiviral examples are acyclovir, amantadine, zidovudine. And for the antiprotozoal, chloroquine, pyrimethamine, metronidazole. And which are anti-helminthic are the mebendazole, niclosamide, diethyl carbamazine. And the examples of narrow spectrum antibiotics are penicillin G, streptomycin, erythromycin, and which are broad spectrum are tetracyclines and chloramphenicol. And the bacteriostatic drugs include sulfonamides, tetracyclines, chloramphenicol, erythromycin, ethambutol. And the bactericidal ones include penicillin, aminoglycosides, polypeptides, rifampin, isoniazid, vancomycin, ciprofloxacin, metronidazole, cotrimoxazole. And based on the source of antibiotics, the fungal antibiotics include penicillin, griseofulvin, cephalosporin, and the bacterial ones are polymyxin B, tyrothricin, colicitin, aztreonam, bacitracin. And the ones that is derived from actinomycetes include aminoglycosides, macrolides, tetracyclines, polyenes, chloramphenicol. Now let's see the principles of antimicrobial therapy. And the first step is the diagnosis that includes the identification of the site of infection, the responsible organism, and the sensitivity to the drug. And second step is to decide whether the chemotherapy is necessary or not. Acute infection require chemotherapy, whereas chronic infections may not. The chronic abscess respond poorly, although chemotherapy cover is essential if surgery is undertaken to avoid a flare-up of infection. Select the drug based on the specificity, pharmacokinetic factors, patient-related factors, whether they have any allergy or renal diseases. Next is the frequency and duration of drug administration. Inadequate dose may develop resistance and intermediate dose may not cure infection. So, optimized dose should be used for therapy. Usually, acute infection is treated for 5 to 10 days, but some of the bacterial infections are exception to this. For example, like typhoid fever, tuberculosis, endocarditis. They are even continued after the clinical cure in order to avoid relapse. Test for cure. It's needed because after therapy, symptoms and signs may disappear before the pathogen is eradicated, and prophylactic chemotherapy is needed to avoid surgical site infections. Choice of an antimicrobial agents depend upon the patient-related factors, drug factors, and the organism-related considerations. First, let's see the patient-related factors. Patient age is an important factor. Chloramphenicol produces grey baby syndrome in newborn, and tetracyclines deposit in teeth and bone below the age of 6 years. And also, if the patients have any renal and hepatic dysfunctions, when we use drugs like aminoglycoside, vancomycin, it will result in renal failure, and erythromycin tetracycline result in liver failure. Also, the history of known antimicrobial agents allergy should be obtained. That is, if the person is having allergy to some of the drugs. For example, syphilis patient who is allergic to penicillin can use tetracycline as a drug of choice. Fluoroquinolones sometimes cause erythema in some patients. And the other factor is the impaired host defense. That is, if the person is immunocompromised due to any other diseases. And the drug factors include whether the patient is pregnant. During pregnancy, all antimicrobial agents should be avoided, even though many cephalosporins and erythromycins are safe. And the next one is the genetic factors. Primaquine, sulfonamide, fluoroquinolones are likely to produce hemolysis in glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficient patients. And the other drug factors include the spectrum of activity, type of activity, sensitivity of the organism, relative toxicity, pharmacokinetic profile, route of administration, and cost. And the next one is the organism-related considerations. A clinical diagnosis should be first made and the choice of the antimicrobial agents are selected. Clinical diagnosis itself direct choice of the antimicrobial agent. Choice to be based on bacteriological examination, such as a bacteriological sensitivity testing. Problems with antimicrobial agents include toxicity, hypersensitivity reaction, drug resistance, drug tolerance, and superinfection. Toxicity include local irritancy, usually at the site of administration, and there is also gastric irritation, pain and abscess formation at the site of intramuscular injection. There can also be thrombophlebitis of injected vein. And the systemic toxicity includes dose-related organ damage. High therapeutic index agents may not damage host cells, for example, penicillin and erythromycin, and the agent which have low therapeutic index exhibit more toxicity. Very low therapeutic index drug is used when no suitable alternative antimicrobial agents are available. For example, vancomycin results in hearing loss, kidney damage, Redman syndrome. Polymyxin B result in neurological and renal toxicity. Next problem associated with antimicrobial agent is a hypersensitivity reaction. All antimicrobial agents are capable to cause hypersensitivity reaction, and this reaction are unpredictable and unrelated to dose. For example, penicillin induces anaphylactic shock. Next one is a drug tolerance. It is a loss of affinity of target biomolecule of the microorganism with particular antimicrobial agent. For example, penicillin resistance to pneumococcal strain. It results due to alteration of penicillin binding protein. So next one is a superinfection. It is an infection occurring in a patient having a pre-existing infection. Development of superinfection is associated with the use of broad or extended spectrum of antibiotics such as tetracyclines, chloramphenicol, ampicillin, and newer cephalosporins. Superinfections are more common when host defense is compromised. Superinfections are generally most difficult to treat. For example, bacterial superinfection in viral respiratory disease, infection of a chronic hepatitis B carrier with hepatitis D virus. Superinfections can be minimized by using narrow spectrum antimicrobial agents whenever possible, and avoid using antimicrobials to treat self-limiting or untreatable infection. Also avoid prolonged antimicrobial therapy. Another major problem associated with the antimicrobial agent is the resistance development. It is the unresponsiveness of a microorganism to an antimicrobial agent and is similar to the phenomenon of drug tolerance. It's broadly divided into natural resistance and acquired resistance. Natural resistance. Some microbes have resistance to certain antimicrobial agents. For example, gram-negative bacilli is not affected by penicillin G, and Mycobacterium tuberculosis is insensitive to tetracyclines. Acquired resistance. It is the development of resistance by an organism which was sensitive before due to the use of antimicrobial agent over a period of time. For example, Staphylococci tubercle bacilli develop resistance to penicillin because of its use for more than 50 years, and gonococci quickly develop resistance to sulfonamides. Antibiotic resistance is the phenomenon that susceptibility of pathogenic microorganism to antibiotic becomes lower or even loses after the microorganism's contact with antibiotic many times. When the bacteria show resistance to one antibiotic, they are also resistant to some other antibiotics, and this phenomenon is called cross-antibiotic resistance. There are different mechanisms for antibiotic resistance. The first one is the alteration of the target site of the antibiotic. It is one of the most problematic antibiotic resistances worldwide. For example, the methicillin resistance that is developed in Staphylococcus aureus. And the second one is the enzyme inactivation of the antibiotic. Beta-lactam antibiotics like penicillins and cephalosporins can be inactivated by beta-lactamases. Another one is the active transport of the antibiotic out of the bacterial cell, that is the use of efflux pump for the removal of some antibiotics such as tetracyclines, macrolides, quinolones. And the other factor is the decreased permeability of bacterial cell wall to the antibiotic. And this will be resulting due to the alteration in the porin proteins that form channels in the cell membrane. For examples, resistance of Pseudomonas aeruginosa to a variety of penicillins and cephalosporins. Resistance mainly developed by mutation or gene transfer. Resistance developed by mutation is stable and heritable genetic changes occur spontaneously and randomly among microorganisms. Mutation resistance may be single-step or multi-step. Single gene mutation may confer high degree of resistance, for example, enterococci to streptomycin, and multi-step mutation may modify the more number of genes that will decrease the sensitivity of antimicrobial agents to pathogens. Next is the development of resistance by gene transfer from one organism to another organism by conjugation, transduction, transformation. The first type of resistance is the gene transfer by conjugation. Here, cell-to-cell contact occurs and transfer of chromosomal or extrachromosomal DNA from one bacteria to another take place through sex pairing. The gene carrying the resistance or R factor is transferred only if another resistant transfer factor is present. This will frequently occur in gram-negative bacilli. The non-pathogenic organisms may transfer R factor to pathogenic organisms, which may become widespread by contamination of food and water. The multi-drug resistance has occurred by conjugation. For example, chloramphenicol resistance to typhoid bacilli, penicillin resistance to Haemophilus and gonococci, and streptomycin resistance to E. coli. Next is the gene transfer through transduction. In this, it transfers resistance gene through bacteriophage or bacterial virus to another bacteria of same species. For example, transmission of resistance gene between strains of staphylococci and between strains of streptococci. Next is the gene transfer by transformation, and it will occur in natural conditions. Bacteria taking up naked DNA formed from its environment and incorporating it into its genome through the normal crossover mechanism take place here. The lowest concentration of an antibiotic which prevents visible growth of a bacterium determined is termed as the minimum inhibitory concentration. It is done in microbial culture plates using serial dilution of the antibiotic. And minimum bactericidal concentration or MBC is the concentration of the antibiotic which kills 99.9% of the bacteria. And this image shows the broth dilution method showing MIC and MBC. In this image you can see that increasing concentration of antibiotic is added from 0.25 mg to 128 mg in this series of tubes containing Fuller-Hinton broth. And these broth tubes containing the antibiotic is then inoculated with standard number of the test organisms and incubator. And you can see that after incubation of 16 to 20 hours, you can see turbidity in this tube, in these 5 tubes, and there is growth in these tubes. And the lowest concentration of the antibiotic, that is 8 mg, it is the tube that shows no growth after 16 to 2 hours of incubation. So that is the MIC of this particular antibiotic, that is 8 mg. And after that you can see these tubes doesn't have any growth. In order to determine the MBC, that is minimum bactericidal concentration, the tubes showing no growth, that is from 8 mg to 128 mg, are subcultured into fresh medium that is lacking antibiotics. And after incubation you can see that the lowest antibiotic concentration from which a microorganism do not recover or grow when transferred to the fresh medium is the MPC of this antibiotic, and that is 32 μg. You can see that no growth is occurring from here. So in this way we can determine the MIC and MBC of the antibiotic. Antimicrobial combinations. The results of combination therapy is that there is additive effect, that is, the activity of two drugs in combination is equal to the sum of their independent activity when studied separately. And there is synergistic effect, that is, the activity of two drugs in combination is greater to the sum of their independent activity when studied separately. And the other effect is the antagonistic effect. The activity of two drugs in combination is less to the sum of their independent activity when studied separately. The combined use of antimicrobials results in synergism. For example, combination of a beta-lactamase inhibitor, clavulanic acid and sulbactam with amoxicillin or ampicillin for beta-lactamase producing Haemophilus influenzae, penicillin plus sulfonamide for actinomycosis. It also is used to reduce severity or incidence of adverse effects, to prevent emergence of resistance, to broaden the spectrum of antimicrobial action, that is for the treatment of mixed infection and also for the initial treatment of severe infections. Such combination antimicrobials can be used. There are also certain disadvantages of antimicrobial combinations usage. They foster a casual rather than rational outlook in the diagnosis of infections and choice of antimicrobial agents, and there is increased incidence and variety of adverse effects. There is toxicity of one agent may be enhanced by another. Example, vancomycin, tobramycin and gentamicin plus cephalothrin produce exaggerated kidney failure, and there is increased chances of superinfections, and also there is higher cost of therapy. Failure of antimicrobial therapy occurs due to improper selection of drug, dose, route or duration of treatment, when the treatment begins too late, and also failure to take necessary adjuvant measures, for example drainage of abscesses, poor host defense as in leukemia, neutropenia and other causes, especially if bacteriostatic antimicrobial agent is used, and when the infecting organism is present behind barriers such as vegetation on heart valves in subacute bacterial endocarditis, inside the eyeball, blood-brain barrier. Let's see a few of the characteristics of successful antimicrobial drugs. It should show great activity against microbes, selectively toxic to the microbe but non-toxic to host cells, microbicidal rather than microbiostatic. It should be relatively soluble and functions even when highly diluted in body fluids. Should remain potent long enough to act and is not broken down or excreted prematurely. It should not be subject to the development of antimicrobial resistance. Complements or assists the activity of the host defenses. Remains active despite the presence of large volume of organic materials. It is readily delivered to the site of infection. It does not disrupt the host health by causing allergies or predisposing the host to other infections. Next, we can see in detail about the cephalosporin antibiotic. They are a group of semi-synthetic antibiotics and obtained from the fungus Cephalosporin. They are bactericidal in action. They are chemically related to penicillins, and the nucleus consists of beta-lactam ring fused to dihydrothiazine ring. Cephalosporins are used to treat pneumonia, streptococcus throat infections, staph infections, tonsillitis, bronchitis, otitis media, and various types of skin infections, gonorrhea, urinary tract infections. Cephalosporin antibiotics are also commonly used for surgical prophylaxis. Cephalexin can also be used to treat bone infections. The first generation cephalosporins. They possess generally excellent coverage against most gram-positive pathogens and variably to poor coverage against gram-negative pathogens. The first generation includes cefadin, cefalexin, cefadroxil. The second generation cephalosporins, in addition to the gram-positive spectrum of the first generation cephalosporins, these agents have expanded gram-negative spectrum. Cefoxitin and cefotaxime also have good activity against Bacteroides fragilis. The second generation includes cefaclor, cefuroxime. The third generation cephalosporins have expanded gram-negative activity, and some members of this group have decreased activity against gram-positive organisms. They have the advantage of convenient administration, but they are expensive. The third generation includes ceftazidime, cefixime, cefoperoxone, cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, cefdinir. The fourth generation cephalosporins are extended spectrum agents with similar activity against gram-positive organisms as first generation cephalosporins. They also have a greater resistance to beta-lactamases than the third generation cephalosporins. Many fourth generation cephalosporins can cross blood-brain barrier and are effective in meningitis. The fourth generation includes cefepime. The fifth generation cephalosporins is used to treat MRSA, that is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, penicillin-resistant Streptococcus pneumoniae, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and Rococci. The fifth generation includes ceftaroline, ceftobiprole. Cephalosporin side effects include diarrhea, nausea, mild stomach upset, and approximately 5 to 10% of the patients with allergic hypersensitivity to penicillins will also have cross-reactivity with cephalosporins. Cephalosporin antibiotics are classed as pregnancy category B. In conclusion, antibiotics are used to treat infections and are also responsible for making them more difficult to treat because of their misuses and development of resistance. The only way to keep antibiotics useful is to use them appropriately and judiciously.